So this note is about how to start interior spaces while using 2-point perspective. So the note is 2-point interiors. Okay, so the steps are going to stay the same. It just looks a little different. So step number 1 is you draw the corner. So where before we were drawing the outer corner, this time we're drawing the inside corner. So step number 1, start with your line. Should be using a ruler. Okay, step number 2, put down your X's. So again, I'm going to try to get them as far away from each other as I can. And just make sure they're across each other on a horizon. You can't get them crooked. Okay, so now what do? Well, it's the opposite of the outside because we're going to go from the X to the top of the line, but we're going to go this way. The same thing, we're going to go from the X to the bottom over here, and we go out away from the X. All right, let's be. So let me do, so that gives us that wall, and to do this wall, same thing. I'm going to go from the top of the line, from the X, but we're going to draw away from the X, away from the X. Okay, and just to emphasize the point a little bit more, let's go ahead and put a window. So I'm just going to start with that. So remember, when you get confused, well, always make sure things are getting larger as they're coming close to you. So if you go to this window, if you use the wrong X, it's going to be really obvious. Really, that's not right. So one of the reasons I like perspective is you can usually tell pretty fast if you make a mistake. So remember, if the floor goes to that X, well then the window has to go to that X. Once again, when you're learning a new skill, it can be a little confusing. That's okay. And it's okay to make the mistakes. Just look at them, be able to analyze your own work and go, oh, something's wrong here. All right, so there's my basic window. So now how do I do the sill? Well, I use this one to draw the window. So I'm going to use this one to get my window sill so that we have that. Remember, 3-dimension is what we're going for here. So I'm going to come in from that corner. I'm going to come in from this corner. There's my edge of my window. And then I'll go back to this X again. See the underside. And see the top of the sill. So again, I just kind of like to color them in a little bit. So in this case, I can see the underside and I can see the top side because my X is in the middle, because this is the human eye view. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a drawing from the bird's eye view. So same technique, we're going to start with the corner. Give ourselves a line. So in this case, instead of putting the X's in the middle, I'm going to move the X's up near the top. Just get them up here a little bit. And let's see what this view looks like. So again, from the top of the line, away from the X, bottom of the line, away from the X, top of the line, away from the X, bottom of the line, away from the X. All right, and you can already see this is a different view from here, but let's go ahead and do a window because it does help to see the difference a little bit better once you start drawing something in there. Okay, so now this time when I go like this, I can barely draw a line in there because I'm so close to the top, but I can easily go from this corner. And again, the front goes straight up and down, the back goes straight up and down. The front goes to this X, the back goes to this X. And my pencil breaks a little. All right, so even though it's very similar to this, the X is slightly higher than it was before. And we can see much more of this top view because we've raised the X's up. And this gives us more of a bird's eye view. That line's should be right there. It's hard because it looks like it's wrong. I just erased and kind of smucked it, but it was actually right, because remember, you will get a horizontal line when you go straight out from that X. Okay, the last one is the worm's eye view. So once again, let's start with this view. And this time, what happens when you put the X's down here? Go away from the X, away from the X, away from the X. All right, so this is more of the view of somebody that is probably sitting on the floor. So what happens to our window? Straight up and down. Okay, I absolutely can't see the sill now because the X is below it, but I can see that underside. So I'm getting the view from down below because I have a worm's eye view. Thinking about views gets more important as you start to design your own paintings and drawings and things like that, because almost everyone uses a human eye view, especially like in grade 12. That's one of the things I really start to push, is take whatever your plan is for your drawing and change up your view, especially worm's eye view. Worm's eye views can get pretty interesting.